I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. Watch the credits.
Cinema Classics is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to shows Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. And listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Mary Yerina.
And this is Cinema Classics. And Mary, I suspect you're a Europhile, and that both of us are, how should we call it, Anglophiles. Would you guess?
Well, I do have ancestry from the British Isles and do appreciate the occasional fine story that comes out of British cinema.
And perhaps there is nothing finer within our last, 20 years? How long is this? Downton Abbey?
15 years.
15 years, Downton Abbey. Same writer, Julian Fellows.
Yes.
And same director, I think, I don't know.
Simon Curtis is
Yeah.
the director of the film we're talking about, Downton Abbey, the grand finale.
Yes.
And I know he directed the second film version,
Right.
A New Era, and has directed this as well. But I'm not sure he directed any of the episodic television or the first Downton Abbey film.
Maggie Smith is the emblem of this, as she has the big portrait in the foyer, kind of glowering over everybody.
The character of Violet passed on at the end of the second film, but her presence looms large, both in spirit and literally, with several shots of a portrait of her that hangs now dominatingly over the hall of Grantham, the Grantham estate.
You're right, and if I could look more closely, I think she might be scowling, I don't know. But we have many of the same actors, fortunately. Yes. One or two new ones, yes. Such as Harold from
well,
America.
Actually, Paul Giamatti plays Uncle Harold, Cora's brother, and he did make an appearance in the television show.
The television show.
So he's brought back for one of the storylines. We do have the introduction of Noel Coward into the Downton Abbey
Mary,
universe,
what a touch.
And played really wonderfully by an actor named Artie Roshan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
And we also have really kind of just some what I thought were a little bit silly appearances by Joelle Richardson as a lady who's throwing a ball in London, and she kind of plays a short, almost silly role. So there are some cast-offs like that. There's a lot of characters who do not appear in this film, but I think it's actually reflective. When we left them at the end of A New Era, it was 1927, 1928. The crash of the stock market and the global depression had not happened yet.
Mary, I'm glad you mentioned that. I find it amusing that really they're insulated from the crash except from their own stupidity. It doesn't appear that they...
I would agree, because we now find them after the crash. It was unclear to me, it's sometime in the early 30s, 31, 32. The crash is referenced mostly through the character of Harold, who has brought his alleged financial advisor or business partner with him, Gus Sandbrook, to England because he needs to discuss the estate of his mother who has passed away, his and Cora's mother who has passed away, and all has not gone well for Uncle Harold and his investments.
Giamatti is the perfect schlub for this. He just can't make a go of it. He can't quite be honored by anybody there except kind of pitied a little bit.
Well, and he hasn't learned anything since his time on the show when he made the trip across the pond to attend the family wedding with his mother, who was played by the great Shirley MacLaine. They have written Shirley's character out of this, so it's just Harold returning, and he's basically seeking money from the estate of the Granthams in order to recoup his investments and pay Gus back for what Gus has fronted him. And then we also have reference to the Granthams, who you can tell by the Grantham house in London, where the story begins, that they do not have the staff that they used to have. It's much more consolidated into the main characters that we followed during the television show and during the previous two films. And then they talk about, in order to be able to save the country estate of Downton Abbey, that they need to sell Grantham House to generate the assets, when Cora originally was counting on the assets from her mother's estate in order to shore up Downton Abbey. So we have that financial whirlwind happening, but as I was watching it, I was like, boy, first world problems for the Granthams in terms of surviving the crash of the market. The devastation of it through Harold's comments is certainly referenced, but yeah, you don't sense that the Crowleys have suffered too much.
But you know, in that opening shot, which is really, I think, a drone shot, some call it a helicopter shot, but the one where the car is going along the road, you don't yet see the Abbey. I just love this, what a classic shot. And then it starts to come into the frame, and it's this huge, magnificent castle. But Fellows is so canny. There is in this a feeling that this can't last. That all of this sumptuous place, even for the Crawleys, it's limited. Time is limited.
Time is limited.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
And I like it because there's something allegorical about this for all of us as we sit there and watch it, and as we know that our lives change. And frequently we can't hold on to the things that we thought were most important. And very often it's wealth of a certain kind. And all of us are facing the end of whatever it was that was great. And so I like very much the way he does that.
Well, and all of the characters, both upstairs and downstairs, are facing transitions. We have Lord Grantham trying to hold on to power as the Lord of Downton
Yes.
Abbey, but clearly from a business standpoint, Mary, his oldest daughter,
Yes.
is more in tune to and seems able to navigate these changes in modern times. So we have that tension, and then we also have less tension, but certainly transitions happening downstairs. Immediately, when they're at Grantham House in London, we hear of Carson is finally retiring as the butler. Mrs. Patmore is finally retiring as the head cook. They're passing the baton to Andrew Parker and Daisy Mason, now Parker, in their roles. And so there's all these kind of transitions happening during modern times, including a return with a storyline focused on Lady Merton, Matthew Crawley's mother, Isabel, who in place of Violet is now part of the committee that runs the annual county fair.
They brought in two downstairs.
And she, who always was more advanced in her views of society and the less divisions within the classes, true to her character's long roots, she recruits Daisy and Carson to join the committee and inform the committee of just new ideas and new ways of thinking. And so that storyline I thought was very true to character.
Oh, and I thought it was brilliant because it's the right thing to do. Who
Absolutely.
knows better than Carson and she about how things work at this place?
Right, and plus the committee is mostly older people. And so Daisy brings the idea of, what do we have to serve lost children? Because she's a mother now with 2 or 3 young children, which is something the committee wouldn't have thought of. And activities for children bringing it into the modern era. So that was a nice storyline as well. The other major storyline we haven't talked about is Mary's divorce, which is presented up front.
And let's give Fells a credit on this. He hits us right away, right between the eyes about this divorce. And it's a shocker for us, moderns. Divorce, 50% of the marriages end in divorce.
I was going to say today it wouldn't be a shocker.
What is the big deal here? But to see how it affected everyone and how it affected Mary. And it's another way of bringing the characters together as they try to save Mary and themselves at the same time.
So Mary, because she's getting a divorce from Henry, is now a social pariah, especially in their peerage circles. At the ball they're attending, Joelle Richardson, who plays the lady of the manor hosting the ball, finds out that Mary's divorce is now final in public, and because royals are coming, she immediately basically stops the show as everybody's heads turn and the music stops to hear her ask Mary, are you divorced? And if you are, you need to leave.
It's all so out there. It is what I miss Matthew Good, who was the husband. Right?
He did. He played Henry, but I at first when I thought about one, it was well known that he's so busy as an actor he wasn't going to have time to appear in this, just like he didn't appear in the second film, and he barely appeared in the first film. He Julian Fellows, normally when an actor wanted to leave the series, basically killed their character. So I think, so when I first heard that Henry couldn't come, I was like, or the actor Matthew Good couldn't come to play Henry, I was like, oh, they're going to kill him off. So to Julian's credit, he didn't kill him off, but it was pretty abrupt end to what you hoped would be a happy ending for the character of Mary.
But it was really important to show how devastating change can be, and I thought he hit it right, and he didn't spare us at all. It's just at the beginning sequence, and we're having to adjust to the change.
Yeah, as a writer, he constantly throughout the show, even though let's be honest, it's basically a soap opera.
Sure.
Upstairs, downstairs soap opera.
Yeah.
But as a writer, he was always very good during the series of bringing the truth of the times, even though they were sometimes harsh truths, to the stories. Because we had Lady Sybil dying during childbirth of eclampsia, which was very common and a high risk during that time. We have the impact of the Spanish flu, and now we have the impact of divorce in society. And if we think, oh, that's very quaint and that was a long time ago, if you remember back in the 90s, Princess Diana and Prince Charles getting divorced, and Princess Sarah
Great illusion.
and Prince Andrew getting divorced, that shook the foundations of the English monarchy, because
all right, Mary Yerina,
look at this.
You know your lore here so well. So let's look forward to it in our podcast.
Okay.
And before we get there, our audience needs to go to WCBE.org to our podcast, which in this case, I understand, is Double Take.
It is Double Take.
Yeah. Mary, what do you recommend?
If you are a fan of the show, I think this is a warm embrace and an appropriate final chapter for these characters. Even my husband Bob, who saw the film with me, he did, commented that he would miss these characters.
Well, I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda